From gardening to animals to extreme renovations, welcome to Homesteading at College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Today we are racking wine. Alright, it's 7 days later. We had our wine in our primary fermenter. Of course, this is autumn olive wine. Sometimes we call it choke cherry. We just do that because it's a great conversation piece. But it's a little different from choke cherry. Autumn olive wine, autumn olives have a pretty good astringent quality. Now, this smells, tremendous. You lift the lid a little bit and it smells awesome. But now, when you get the fermenter done, and I'll show you what it looks like inside once this is done. When the fermenter's done, about 7 days. 7 days is all I want my fruit to sit on in the primary fermenter. Because if you let it sit much longer than that, it starts to become bitter. It picks up some bitter flavors from the remnants of the fruit that's in it. So what do you need to rack your wine? Well, you need a hose to siphon with. You'll need a stopper with an airlock on it. And the way the airlock works is you put water in here, this little airlock. You put water inside of here, and it works a lot like the P-trap on your toilet. It'll let air out, but it won't let air back in. So what's going to happen when you first put the fruit in and the yeast, there is a lot of action. If you put this on to this container, if you put that stopper on this container, it's liable to blow, boom. The lid plumb off and make a real mess. But that first week, there's a lot of alcohol being made. As a matter of fact, probably half the alcohol that's going to be made has already been done. This is probably already equal to the wines that you'd buy at the store. So, you need your fermented material. You need a cable tie. Now, all of this, I've run it through a sterilizing solution, Camden. You need a rod that we're going to fasten on to this hose pipe. Now, when I do this, this pipe is a lot bigger than the pipe I use to bottle wine. You can see our bottling wine video. I use a lot smaller siphoning hose. But in this, I want to get it in here kind of quick because I'm going to be siphoning 4 gallons. It won't actually come out to be 4 gallons. This is a 5-gallon bucket. The stuff is right up to the top here with just enough room so I could stir it. But what's going to happen is that this is going to take down, but it won't fill this. This is what we call our secondary fermenter. Now, I'm not going to show you the label. You may have seen it already. But this is just one of those 4 or 5. This is a 4-gallon. Let's see, what does it say? 512 fluid ounces or 4-gallon water jug. Now, you know where to get these. Now, what I do is I wash them inside and out. When I'm done with a batch, I wash this inside and out, and I put on, and I let it dry, and I put on a sterilized stopper. This is just a number 10 rubber stopper. Fits perfect in these plastic Demijohns. And I put on a stopper. Then the day I'm going to do my wine, I come back, I wash the outside, I wash the inside, and then I put a sterilizing solution in and let that swirl around and pour it out. Then I put just plain, the exact same water we use for the wine in here to rinse it out. Only about 1/3 of a gallon or something, and rinse this all out so most of the chlorine's out. There might be a little bit of chlorine, but not enough to worry about. Now, let's talk about sanitation for a minute. You got to be fairly clean doing this. I have found that you don't have to be perfect. If you get a bad batch, well, you wind up throwing it out. But I've had in 15 years, I think I've had one bad batch. So I try and be as clean as possible. I run sterilizing solution through everything, but I still siphon by mouth, like siphoning gas. Oh well. Now, the real limiting agent here is the fruit. We wash our fruit when we pick it. We wash it good and put it in Ziploc bags and put it in the freezer. If there's any wild yeast or stuff, the freezer will kill it. But the freezer won't necessarily kill any bacteria or anything that might be on the fruit. So every now and then, the fruit is the limiting agent as far as bacteria go. So now, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take this hose, and the way you start is I'm going to go ahead and get my already sanitized cable tie, get it started. Now, all you have to do is I'm going to use this, and I'm going to fasten this hose onto this aluminum rod. But I'm going to push the aluminum rod past the hose like that so that it's about 1 inch off the bottom of this jug. Tighten it down good. And now that's about 1 inch. Push it over there where you can see it. My hand's been washed good too. It's about 1 inch from the bottom. Now that'll keep that hose off the bottom of this container. Then all I do is I put this very carefully, not disturbing stuff as much as possible, right down into this container. Alright, now I'll show you the rest. Alright, here I've got my Demijohn set up, and all I'm going to do is this Demijohn is sitting on a 5-gallon bucket here just below my table. Same 5-gallon bucket I use for my bottled wine. And so I'm going to bring the hose over and I'm going to start the siphoning process. And all I have to do is get it to come over the top and start into this. Now, I want you to think, what color do you think this choke cherry wine would be? You saw the choke cherries. Matter of fact, let me bring you over. There is the hose down in the choke cherries. The choke cherries have all floated to the top. So, you tell me what color you think the wine will be. Now, everybody thinks that choke cherry wine will be red, or, I'm sorry, autumn olive wine. It's really autumn olives. We call it choke cherries just because we do. We think it's funny. Anyway, all right, I'm going to start the siphoning process. And I don't know if you can see that too well, but it's a nice white wine. Right now it has a whole lot of seeds and things in it. It'll pick up some of the seeds, some of the berries, but for the most part I'm getting mainly liquid. This first racking I'll wind up with a few seeds and a few berries and that kind of stuff. But you'll notice I'm not allowing this to just splash down in there. It needs to run down the side of the container. Come on. It needs to run down the sides of the container. The reason being, and I had a minor blockage there, the reason being you don't want to introduce air. Now we're going to do a making vinegar video today or tomorrow or tonight or something. I don't know exactly when, but we're going to do a making vinegar video, and that's all about air. But for making wine, you don't want air. And you really don't want to taste this wine yet. To be honest, it would not taste good. It would be very yeasty, and it just wouldn't be something that you'd want to fool with. Now, some folks are going to ask me, why don't you use a bag to keep your fruit in? Well, the reason I don't use a bag with things like choke cherries is those cherries, those autumn olives, they need to be moved around and squished, and because they don't like to break apart too easy. The pectic enzyme has a real hard time with them, so you wind up having to squish them and mash them, and you could do that in a bag, but I just feel like I wouldn't get the same amount of flavor out as I do by just leaving them loose. So that's why I don't put them in a fermentation bag. So I'm going to get these all transferred in as much as I can get, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, all done. If you remember in our making video, in our autumn olive wine making video, the bucket was 2/3 full or half full with sugar and autumn olives. Well, if you look right here, we've got a few autumn olives left. They're pretty much spent. Then over here is what we've got in our secondary fermenter. It's a little bit less than 4 gallons, and I'll show you what we do with that next. Well, our secondary fermenter, right now, the wine is just up to about here. Now, some people ask me, what does it taste like at this point? It tastes like a little bit of wine, but it tastes like a little bit of the astringent of the autumn olive, but it also tastes a lot like sugar water. So the yeast haven't completed their job yet. So this is really, really sweet still. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take the same water that we made the wine with, and I'm going to fill this jug up to the bottom of the lid. It's actually, there's a real dark spot here where the water should go to, a really blue spot that they put in there on purpose because that's where the jug should be filled to. So I'm going to put some more water in. Trying not to let it slosh too much. Okay, right there. Now I'm going to take my little airlock, and I'll start off with water, but later I'll come back and put a little rum or bourbon or vodka in there. Vodka's my favorite because it's nice and clear and I can see anything's tried to get in it. But go ahead and put a little water in it. And I've got too much. Pour off a little. There is a maximum spot. There we go. There's how much water should be in it. It's up to right here in both cylinders. And I'll put that on. And we are going to, then you put the little cap, there's a cap that goes on it. That keeps anything from getting down in there, but allows the carbon dioxide to come out. When yeast get in wine, what do? Well, they eat sugar, burp carbon dioxide, and pee alcohol. That's what they do. So it's called respiration to them. And the less air you have, the better. Now, before you pick up and move this is not like a glass Demijohn. If I went to pick this up, it will suck water right out of this, right out of the airlock. So anytime you want to move this, you need to take the airlock off. The yeast will burp out enough carbon dioxide to fill this thing up really, really quick. And now that I've transferred them, they will become way more active for a little while, and it will fill this up, and it won't be a matter of an hour. This will be bubbling. So that's what I do each time. That works for plum, peach, raspberry, blackberry. It doesn't matter what the wine is. Watermelon. I've made wine out of watermelons, pineapples. I don't like watermelon wine, just don't. I don't like pineapple wine, just don't. I've made it out of peaches, plums, apricots. I've made it out of autumn olives. I've made it out of choke cherries, the real thing. Don't care for that too much. I've made it out of, I said peaches and plums, raspberries and blackberries. So there's a lot of different wines that you can make out there with fruit wines. I'm anxious for my grapevines to put out enough grapes for me to make a grape wine. So that might happen this year. I'm hoping it does. So if you like this homesteading kind of stuff, this do-it-yourself, all that, be certain to subscribe. If you hit the little bell, it'll let you know when our videos come out. We upload videos every Sunday, sometimes 1 if it's through the winter, and sometimes 5 if it's through the summer. So be sure to come on out to our channel and like us and share our videos every now and then. Right now I'm doing it as a hobby. So be sure to like and subscribe, and now it's time for me to get on to the next thing.